Hello everybody, and welcome to our video discussing how to obtain financial statement documentation for a publicly traded company in order to do financial analysis, look at the actual results, or just see examples. So we are going to go to the SEC website, the Securities Exchange Commission website, to find this financial statement data from a publicly traded company. So the first thing we're going to do here is go to the sec.gov website, sec.gov. And when you get here, there's a lot of good information about this government agency, a lot of headlines on various things that are going on. But for the purposes of this training, we're just talking about how to obtain financial statement data. So there are a couple of quick ways to do it. First, you'll see a search bar up at the top, and you'll also see company filings right underneath of it. So if you have a pretty common company that you're looking for, you could actually just search, for example, Ford. If I just wanted to type in Ford, well, now notice also that when I typed it in, let me go back there. When I typed it in, it said, hey, we have quite a few different Fords. What are you looking for? Ford Motor Company was what I was talking about. So you could, even before hitting enter, you could just click on this from the actual list. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And that takes you right to the filings area, which we'll talk about in just a second. But I want to go back again. I just want to type in Ford and hit enter now. You get quite a few different things. There's a lot of information that, some of it's just headlines and things. But toward the top, you're going to get the more relevant information. And in this case, Ford Motor filings on Edgar. Edgar, by the way, is the search engine for this SEC website. But the key thing here is we found it that way. Now, the other thing I wanted to go back to is, again, I could have just clicked on this company filings, or I could have just gone down to this filings and either see the search and access or the company filing search. So really a lot of easy ways to get this information. I'm going to try the company filings. Now I could just type in Ford Motor Company again, or pretty much the same thing happens. As soon as I type in Ford, it shows me this list. I could do the same for Tesla, really any company, Southwest Airlines, any company that is publicly traded is required to file their financial statements, their annual report on the SEC website. So you can find it all. Now, if it's a private company, you're not going to find it here. You might be able to go to their website and find it. And by the way, these publicly traded companies, they're also going to have, for the most part, this information on their own websites as well. So a variety of ways to find it. So let's go back to that Ford Motor Company. Now, again, the key thing is making sure you did indeed grab the right company, especially when the name pops up multiple times. Now, what I really wanted to show you here is when you go over to the selected filings, there are a lot of them, but the ones we're really concerned with are the 10K, which is your annual report. Now, you might be doing a 10Q if you're looking at quarterly report data as well. So let's take a look at the 10K. Now, I could view all of them if I'm looking for a specific year, or I could just pick the most recent one. So I'm just going to show you the view all. Notice that you're going to see the 10Qs and the 10K, and you'll see the filing date, the reporting. The reporting date is basically the fiscal year end in question. So if for some reason I wanted to go back and see the 10K for the 12/31/2016, I could certainly do that. Let's just grab the most recent one though. So the 12/31/20. By the way, these are generally available within about 2.5 to 3 months after the fiscal year end. Well, in fact, let's go back there. This tells us when it was filed. 12/31/20 was filed February 5th, 21. So you can see about how long it takes to get that. Now we have the annual report and all of the various financial statements that come with it. There's a lot of other information, by the way, in these annual reports. This 10K, I shouldn't say annual report, it's a little bit more than just that. But in this 10K, we have quite a bit of information here. Information about the company, the year, some of the different classes of stock, or in this case, notes or bonds that they might have. A lot of information up front. Feel free to check some of that out. And then you get a table of contents, which is going to be very helpful. Again, there's a lot of information, but for our purposes, what we wanted to look at were the financial statements. So Ford Motor Company and subsidiaries financial statements. And if you've taken accounting, if you've been involved with this should look pretty familiar to you. Statement of cash flows, income statement, balance sheet. Also notice at the very top of that list is the auditor's report, the independent auditor, the external auditor's report. That always comes before the financial statements. Basically, it's giving you a heads up that, hey, before you look at these financial statements, see what the auditor had to say about them. See if the auditor thinks you can rely on that information or if it hasn't not been prepared in accordance with GAAP, the generally accepted accounting principles. So the heart of this particular video is to show you how to get to this point and see the actual financial statements. We're going to open a few up. By the way, simple searches, either through this search bar or just a Control F search, Control F find. It's going to help you quite a bit, especially when you see a company with a very long 10K. So if I was at the top, or if maybe, the table of contents, maybe it wasn't all that clear or clean or well organized. By the way, they all look a little bit different, but let's say it wasn't very well organized and you kind of get lost. You could just simply search for income or balance sheet, just balance, and if you're lucky, one of the first instances would be that statement. It should, because at least it should be in the index. Now, by the way, there are different names for these financial statements. Income statement's pretty common, but you might see it called the statement of operations. The balance sheet is pretty common as well. Let's see, cash flow statement. The balance sheet is sometimes called the statement of net position or statement of position. So a couple different terms there, but we found the balance sheet. Let's go to the income statement first. What you'll notice with companies is even though they're filing the 12/31/20, that's not the only data they're going to give you. They're going to give you generally 2 to 3, maybe even 5 years worth of data, because the entire purpose of analyzing financial statements is being able to compare across time. 1 year doesn't really do you much. You want to know how that company has changed over the past few years to see what sort of trend there is. Just a quick example here with revenues, automotive revenues. You can see that, hey, this company went from 148,000 million, so billion, down to 143 in 2019, down to 115 in 2020, and obviously the 2020, that's a main reason there's the COVID, PHE, the public health emergency, pandemic, whatever term you want to use there. So you can certainly see some changes. That's revenues, different high groupings, high level classes of revenue. Notice they have some notes as well. Expenses. Now here's something very interesting. When you see the expenses, this is a Ford Motor Company, it's a pretty big company, but notice they just have everything broken into 3 categories. Cost of sales, also known as cost of goods sold, selling, administrative, and other expenses, and then they have Ford credit, interest, operating, and other expenses. Now they have some other interest expense type things down below, but all of the expenses of running that company fall into these categories. Now, again, anytime you see a reference to a footnote, you'll see that down below. That really helps you to understand a set of financial statements, but it's important to see just what you have right here. comprehensive income statement, the balance sheet, your assets broken into current and long term, your liabilities, and then the different classes of equity the company has. And again, here they just gave 2 years, so you can see 2019 and 2020. Their equity statement, quite a bit going on there. But I want to jump down here to the footnotes. Even though the financial statements are really the heart of what we're looking for the actual data, the footnotes really help to explain what those financial statements are saying, what type of information it's giving you, how they've measured various things. So it would be a flaw to just solely look at the financial statements without even considering the footnotes. They have a nice table of contents here for these footnotes. It looks like there are about 27 of them, so it's not, a whole lot to look at. Summary of significant accounting policies, very helpful, so you know exactly what measurements they use, what methods they use. FIFO or LIFO for inventory, what do they use for depreciation, all of that. How do they record revenue? Let's see some other ones that are important here. The inventories. This might give you a breakdown of inventories instead of just one number. You'll see the different types of inventories they have. Property, plant, and equipment. Again, a breakdown there. Various debt-related items. And some segment information that might be helpful for understanding the overall company. You can see the breakdown between the various departments. So again, the purpose of this session was just to review how to find this information in the first place and what it really means when you look at it. Certainly it's a good idea to practice this, take a look at different companies and see what you can find, but hopefully this has helped to point you in the right direction. So thanks for your time and have a great day.